Here at the Dr. Samuel M. Jordan Center for Persian Studies and Culture, we're very happy to have Dr. Vesta Sarkhosh Curtis deliver the first Farhang Foundation lecture series in Iranian Studies. The first talk was about the Parthians, and the second talk now moves to the Sasanian period, so we're moving forward. And the title is Kingship and Religion, the Coins of Sasanian.
Thank you very much, Professor Diary. Thank you. I'm so glad that you've all come back and you haven't disappeared after the first trauma, and I'm very touched and pleased that Mr. and Mrs. Razi have also joined us. It's a great pleasure. We go back a few years, and I never forget the hospitality and kindness when we visited in 2006. I have very fond memories, both myself and my husband. So now we are moving to the next period in Iranian history, the Sasanians. As we were discussing over lunch, there are some of us who believe that there was really no break between the Parthian, Arsakid or Ashkanian dynasty and the Sasanians, because it is really a local dynasty from southern Iran, from the area of Fars or Pars, that comes to power, and the kings continue for another 400 years. Now, the center of the Sasanian state was the King of Kings. On his coins, the early kings describe in their legends their religious affiliation as the Mazdayasnian majesty, worshipper of Ahura Mazda, the Lord of Wisdom, or Maz, the Lord of Wisdom. The king calls himself the King of Kings of Iran, and soon the title is extended to Iran and non-Iran, of divine origin or race, lineage of the gods. Now, there is a great discussion going on about this phrase, Ke Chehre az Yazdan, what exactly it means. I'm not going to go into this. A lot has been published, and recently Professor Daryoi has also published an article about the early Sasanians in a journal that has just released its first issue, Anabasis, and but this is really not the place for us to discuss it. But basically, the royal title emphasizes the divine nature or race and the origin of the Sasanian dynasty. Now, the importance of the association of the king with divinity, as emphasized in these early legends, is also known from Sasanian art and in particular rock reliefs, where the king is involved in divine investiture. On this slide you see the relief of Ardashir I at Naqsh Rostam on the left, then Shapur I at Naqsh Rajab on the right, and at the bottom the relief of Bahram or Varahran I at Bishapur. The king is shown in the presence of Ahura Mazda, that is God, who presents his chosen ruler with a diadem, a symbol of kingship. And I'm always very keen to show these magnificent early 19th century drawings of rock reliefs by the, actually he was by origin Scottish artist Sir Robert Kerr Porter, who went to the court of the Russian Tsar, and he was sent out to Iran in around 1816-17 to draw monuments in Iran at the time of the Qajar ruler Fath Ali Shah, and he was sent with the strict instructions to record what was there and not to record what he saw. And they are absolutely wonderful. I think they are some of the best 19th century drawings of these monuments. And you see again at the top Shapur at Naqsh Rajab, Ardashir on the right at Naqsh Rostam, and at the left, bottom left, Ardashir at Naqsh Rajab again. Now, it has been suggested by many scholars that, for example, the Sasanian kings did not regard themselves as gods, but because in the Zoroastrian tradition, the king is not God, but that he was chosen by God, by Ormazd or Ahura Mazda, to act on behalf of God. Now, people and views differ in this particular respect, but I think it is important that, or one should separate the art from the religion. Religion may say one thing, but when they represent themselves on these monumental rock reliefs, they often go for sort of very important, emotional sort of messages. And for a Sasanian king to show himself as a representative or as the chosen one by Ormazd is absolutely essential, and it gives him legitimacy. The religious iconography of these early coins, as you see Shapur the first at the bottom, is completely in tune with the coin legends. Just as the Achaemenid king Darius the Great and his successors describe themselves when they came to power as people or as kings who came to power by the favor of Ahura Mazda, so Shapur I, for example, describes in his inscription at Kabe Zardosh at Nakhshe Rostam how he had the support of the gods, which helped him conquer many countries. The Sasanian king, we may say, claimed that he originated from the gods. Theoretically, the king was never a god, as there were no royal gods in Zoroastrianism, as de Jong, for example, argues in 1997. This is also made clear in the different terminology for king and Ahura Mazda in the inscriptions at Shapur inscription at Kabe Zardosht. And then there is also the idea that, or the whole concept that in the Greek version of the inscription of Shapur at Kabe Zardosht, the word theos, the Greek word for God, is used to describe, the king, but it has been argued that this may have been a misconception, mistranslation by the Greek translator of the Persian word. But I don't know. I'm not a philologist or linguist. I don't know. I think I leave that to the experts. I don't know what Professor Shoyagon thinks about it. Is it possible that they have used the wrong word?
No, but I think by the time probably the term of theos has changed so dramatically that it just, because it represents ba or by.
Yeah, by, yes.
And by is the word for God,
yes.
Obviously throughout the Iranian languages.
Yes.
But in the way it is being used, there is no good reason to believe that it means actually divine. That just it is a mean to emphasize the majesty of the king.
Majesty,
so, theos is from the Seleucid period, but it has changed in meaning when it reaches the Sasanians, and maybe even during the Arsacids.
Okay, very good. That's what's wonderful when you have an expert in the audience. So the king was chosen by God, and he acted as an intermediary between God and man. At the same time, like the Achaemenid and Parthian kings, the Sasanian kings were blessed by Ormazd with the God-given glory of fortune, the Avesta and Varena, the Old Persian Farna and New Persian Far. This sort of concept, or this Far, was the visual substance, I quote, which is possessed by the gods and accompanies rulers and heroes, as de Jong describes it. Now, let us look briefly to the pre-Sasanian evidence. And here, for example, in Achaemenid art of the 5th and 4th centuries before the Common Era, the Farna, or God-given glory, is symbolized by a sort of circle with wings, and there is actually two types of the winged symbol. One is the the one above, where there is no figural representation, which is often sort of regarded as the Fareh-i-Zadi, the God-given glory. And then there is one with this sort of male figure emerging and having two wings, which is often associated with Ahura Mazda, whether it is or not, I'm not saying, or the kingly glory, the fire of the king, which I personally think it fits better. But it's interesting that this symbol that becomes such an important symbol in the sort of Persian Achaemenid art and ideology has its roots really outside Iran, both in Phoenicia, Egypt, and also Assyria. So it is, again, you see, it's something that the Iranians have borrowed, used it for their own ideology and religion. And I think this is really the beauty of Persian art throughout history. Now, of course, Shapur Shahbazi was sort of one of the great scholars, the late Shapur Shahbazi, who very much argued for the interpretation of the glory versus Ahura Mazda, and I think this is the sort of what basically nowadays we accept. Now, in the 2nd century of the Common Era, and you saw that slide before, the Kushan kings of Bactria, as I mentioned this morning, actually showed on their coins pharaoh, or the phar, the khwarna, on the back of their coins as a divine being. And so we know that there is an actual representation for that sort of Izad or Yazata. With the advent of the Sasanians on the political scene and early royal Sasanian art, a religious iconography which is closely connected with the idea of kingship and the legitimacy of the king becomes prominent. As the French scholar Duchesne Guillemin argued in 1983, I quote, "Religion ascends the throne," unquote, in the early 3rd century of the Common Era. Now, the importance of Zoroastrian religion, its priests and kingships, all these are also stressed in later Pahlavi texts and also in early Islamic texts. And we often come across phrases such as religion and kingship are like two brothers, or kingship preserve itself through religion. And the latter is also one of the phrases that occurs in the Shahnameh, Ferdowsi's Shahnameh. Coins of the Sasanian kings are one of the important primary sources for the understanding of this close relationship between kingship and religion. The kings chose a variety of religious symbols which indicated support from divine beings. In this way, the Sasanian king wanted to show that he was the rightful and legitimate ruler. The iconography, therefore, provides a wealth of information about royal and religious symbols which can only be understood from an Iranian Zoroastrian perspective, regardless of whether the very early Sasanians were Zoroastrians or not, because Zoroastrianism as a state religion doesn't really come into being until Shapur II in the 4th century of the Common Era.